characters, incidents, names, and situations used in this story are fictitious. The resemblance to any person living or dead is purely coincidental. The following video contains some horror elements and suitable for a mature audience, 16 plus. This channel and video is not for kids.
Hello friends, I am Aryan, and welcome to our channel, Midnight Horror Stories, where you get to hear true and scary ghost stories. In our channel, you will get to hear true and scary stories every Tuesday and Saturday. But before starting the story, all the friends who have come to this channel for the first time, please subscribe to the channel. And if you like the story, then definitely introduce yourself in the comment section. Then let's do not take much time and start our story quickly. Friends, today's story is about a man from Hisar district of Haryana, whose name is Quran. So let's now hear this story from Quran's point of view. So let's start your story quickly without taking too much time. Hello friends, my name is Quran and I am a resident of Hisar district of Haryana. I am a truck driver by profession. In such a situation, I often go to many states outside Haryana with my truck. Sometimes the journey is of the day, sometimes of the night, and sometimes we have to travel continuously, day and night. In such a situation, after stopping somewhere on the way, they eat food and sometimes rest in the truck. And sometimes they also get a sleeping arrangement somewhere. That's our life. And in this long journey, we sometimes face so many events. It has to be done. That's the life of every truck driver. But for the sake of his family, he has to face every problem, every event. But sometimes something happens in life that we can't forget, even if we try to forget it. Something similar happened to me that I want to tell you all. Actually, this is the time of 2022, when I left for Rajasthan with my truck from Hisar. The journey was quite long, and the biggest thing was that although I had been to Rajasthan many times, I often went through other routes. It was. Now the path that was shown to me by someone was a bit of a shortcut, so I decided to go with that. By the way, the distance between Haryana and Rajasthan was not that much. So on the way we stopped at dhabas and ate food. I got some rest and headed for my next journey. I had just left Haryana. As soon as I entered the border of Rajasthan, darkness engulfed all around. Then I was passing through a village. I didn't know much about this route. A little further on I saw two paths. In this case, I didn't know which way to go. Whoever told me about the shortcut path didn't mention that the two paths would meet. So after a lot of thought, I ran my truck on another path because I felt that it was the right way, because the road going on that side was fine, while the road on the other side was very rough. So I thought that if there is a road, then the road should be fine, so I walked on it. I had just come a little further when darkness fell all around. No lights on either side of the road. It wasn't burning. Seeing this, I started thinking why there is no light on this highway. But without noticing this, I was moving forward in the headlights of the truck. I was driving the truck at high speed. That's when I felt like someone had whispered something in my ear. Seeing this, I looked around and there was nothing. In such a situation, I thought that there must have been such an illusion, so I didn't pay much attention to it. Then I started hearing the sound of bangles ringing around me, sometimes the sound of anklets ringing. Hearing this, I looked around in surprise, but I found no.
I didn't even see it. There was absolute silence on both sides of the road. It was a deserted area. It seemed that I was the only one traveling on that road. Hearing these voices at that time, I thought that maybe such a mind was getting confused. Thinking about it, I was just moving forward. I don't know why, but I was also feeling a little nervous at that time on that deserted road. I don't know how many times I had traveled through such deserted paths, and I had never felt nervous. But today, it seemed a bit strange. My heart was panicking that something untoward was going to happen. That's when I told myself. He said, "No, there is nothing like that." Thinking about it, I was just moving forward. By the way, ghosts, I also believed a little bit in all these things. I had heard about all this from people, but I had never encountered any of this. Therefore, sometimes he used to call these things an illusion of the mind. Sometimes he would call these things superstition, and sometimes he would also believe them. but it is said that it is a little difficult to believe until you see with your own eyes. It was the same with me, but I didn't know what was going to happen to me today. From a friend of yours, I had heard that we go to Rajasthan from Haryana. At that time, there is a path where we are confronted with such evil spirits. But at that time, I didn't pay much attention to it, and I didn't even know which way it was. Today, I think I wish I had paid attention. I wouldn't have had so much that happened to me at that time. Unbeknownst to all this, I was driving my truck at the time. Just then, on the way, a woman made a hand gesture to me to stop. When I saw the woman, I was surprised for a moment that she was here in the middle of the night. What are you doing? In such a situation, thousands of thoughts started coming to the heart and mind. Sometimes I wonder if this is really an evil spirit, as people say. Then he spoke to himself, what kind of crazy thing I'm talking about? Then a thought came to my mind that such girls often try to stop the means of coming and going on the way. Maybe it's one of them, but seeing his costume, he didn't seem to say to himself, anyway, there is no one on this deserted road. Except for me, there may be a helpless woman, be someone who needs help. Thousands of such things came to mind. In such a situation, sometimes I feel like stopping my truck and asking, what is the matter? Sometimes I do not feel like stopping the truck on an unknown path in the middle of the night. Sometimes thinking that it is not a good thing not to help a lonely woman in this way. Such things were coming to mind. As soon as I got close to the woman, I could see from a distance that she was an old woman with a child with her. She looked around, waiting for the means to come and go. My truck coming, seeing this, she was repeatedly asking me to stop the truck with her hand. So seeing that old woman, I stopped my truck and asked her, who is it? Where are you going? So hearing this, she said that she had brought her grandson from a nearby village. No means were found on the way. I have to go to a nearby village. Will you leave? Hearing this, I thought for a while and said, okay, come on. Saying this, I looked at the woman who was veiled and had a 4-year-old child in her lap. Then I said, come again. Hearing this, the woman said, okay.
It says she sat in the truck with her grandson. I saw that he was wearing a long veil, and his grandson was sleeping on his lap. Seeing this, I didn't pay much attention to him and drove the truck to go ahead. I had just moved a little further when suddenly I heard a strange sound. If you look closely, it was the sound of someone crying. Hearing this, I wondered if this baby was crying, but the sound sounded like it was coming from far away. Still, I looked at the child, and he was sleeping. Seeing this, my eyes were just looking forward when suddenly I felt something again and looked at the child. I had just looked at him when the child suddenly opened his eyes. The way he opened his eyes, for a moment, I was scared. Then the child changed completely. His eyes turned white. The face became quite scary. From one side, his whole body turned white. The eyes were white. Blood was coming out of his body from place to place. There was also a bite mark on the neck. Seeing this, I was terrified. Now I looked at the woman nervously. So the woman looked at me and lifted her veil. And I was shocked to see that behind that veil was not a woman but a witch, whose face was quite scary. The eyes were white. The teeth were quite long. It looked like blood would drip from it. At the same time, the whole face was cut and torn, and slowly the woman began to look like a bone structure. The nails on his hands had grown quite large. Seeing this, I was shocked. I began to tremble. Then the child looked at me with a strange smile. Seeing this, I could understand something. Even before that child, he jumped on me like a kitten and tried to scratch my face by reading both my ears. Seeing this, I wanted to pull the baby away to protect myself with the other hand while handling the truck with one hand. But the kid wasn't going away. His teeth were quite long. He was very long. It was as if he was thirsty for my blood. That's when I nervously looked at the witch. Jo was making a strange sound and was pointing her fingernails at me. Seeing this, I panicked, and I hurried away panicking.
I had just pulled the child away from me when suddenly he clung to my hand again, and the witch had just put both her hands on my neck, when suddenly both of them started screaming. At that time, I was surprised to see them shouting like this. It seemed as if they were both in pain. I saw fire in their hands. I was not surprised to see this. Then my eyes went to Hanumanji's locket worn around my neck. My mother, who protected me, I was dressed for it. Seeing this, I started chanting Hanumanji. Due to nervousness, Hanuman was not able to recite the Chalisa, but the name of Hanumandara was being taken again and again in my mind, because now I was convinced that only Sri Hanumanji could protect me. The sound of the witches and her child's screams echoed all around. It was a very horrible and scary sound. Seeing this, I was very nervous. I wanted to stop the truck and jump out of here and run away. But sometimes I felt like if I would run away from here, even then my life may or may not be saved, so it's okay for me to stay in the truck. He didn't stop the truck. Thinking about it, but there was no power left in the hands and feet. I was just driving the truck and looking nervously at the two parents who were screaming and staring at me. The witch's hands and feet were on fire. Then the child again screamed angrily and grabbed my throat, that as soon as his hand touched Balaji Baba's locket, his scream echoed all around. His hands were also on fire. That pain, he was starting to suffer.
Seeing this, I was just constantly meditating on Hanumanji. At the same time, the witch and the child jumped down from the truck screaming in pain. Now I could hear their screams and shouts far away. The sound was so horrible that I can't tell you. I was very nervous because of what had happened to me at that time, and I was scared. After that, I did not even look back and kept running my truck at high speed. I kept running my truck until something. I couldn't see a daba ahead. Seeing him, I stopped my truck and went inside it nervously. By the way, now I was not so afraid of that witch or her child, because I knew that if I had Hanumanji's locket, both of them would not be able to harm me anymore. But the heartbeat was big, and when I reached that dhaba and ordered food for myself, the dhaba owner aimed to me and said, "What should I bring, sir? I want to eat." He ordered and brought me food in a while, but I was very nervous at that time. Seeing what had happened, he asked what was the matter. So I nervously told the whole thing. Hearing this, there was a look of sadness on the face of that dhaba owner. So seeing this, I said, "Is there anything wrong?" So the dhaba owner told me that the woman and the child you saw were none other than my wife and my grandson. I was surprised to hear this and said, "But both of them?" I said, "Yes, they are both dead and now their souls are wandering. He has taken the form of a witch and a vampire." Saying this, the dabawala said, "Like you, I often say all this from people's mouths. I listen. Many people have also died. But what do? I can't do anything even if I want to. Because now those two souls who are witches and vampires will not listen to me. Maybe kill me too." I was very surprised to hear this, and I looked at him and said, "What happened to them that they are both wandering like this?" Hearing this, the dhaba owner had tears in his eyes. So I said, "There is something wrong. That's why they're both wandering. But how did it all happen?" Now the dhaba seller said that ours also in the village, it was a family laughing and playing. I was living a good life with my son, daughter-in-law, and my grandson with my wife. But there were some people on our land. They wanted to take that land from us at a lower price. But that land was our livelihood. In such a situation, there was a fight every day about that land. One day there was such a fierce quarrel that there was a fight between them, and one of the boys came running towards my son with a stick in his hand to beat my son. Then my son pushed him, due to which the balance of the boy, he deteriorated and fell on a stone lying behind him in such a way that he suffered an internal injury to his head, due to which he fell unconscious and died on reaching the hospital. All this was nothing short of a shock to us. The other side put all the blame of his son's death on my son. In such a situation, a police case was also made. The police came and arrested my son. Weeds had spread throughout the house. We were all very upset. Even in the village, people's taunts were not letting us live. We were hearing everyone's burnt out.
So we had stopped going out of the house because we were upset with people's words. After about a month, we released our son on bail for some time. But now he was always in a lot of trouble. I didn't talk to anyone. I was just lost in myself.
When he came back, a man from the village came to our house and started taunting my son in the same way. In the same way, my son was in a lot of trouble because of all this. So he did not think it right to live such a life and hanged himself from a neem tree behind the house at night. When we saw his corpse in the morning, it was as if a mountain of sorrows had broken for us. After all, how would you handle yourself? My son's in-laws came and left my grandson with us and took away their daughter. We even said, "Let us stay with us for a few days. The grandson is very young now," but they didn't listen. My daughter-in-law also left her innocent child and went with her family. In such a situation, we were now both old husband and wife and my innocent grandson, which we took for granted as our world. But the words of the people, the loss of their son, the agony, the good memories, all this was not letting us live. It was difficult for us to live every single moment. Even on the ground on which all this had happened, the other side was not allowing us to set foot. There was no one to raise our voice now, and the land that snatched away all our happiness, now we could not risk our grandson's life to get that land back. In such a situation, there was a situation of starvation. Both of us, husband and wife, wanted to go somewhere and give our lives. But for the last sign of our son, we are barely living his life. Then both husband and wife came from the village to the nearby town with our grandson in search of work. But no work was found. That's when we were told by a man pointing to the house he was in, told to open a dhaba on rent here. We also agreed to them and opened the dhaba, because there was no dhaba here till that time. And in such a short time, the dhaba started doing well due to our hard work. Both of us, husband and wife, started taking care of the dhaba. Our grandson was also with us. Everything was going well. Our economic situation was also gradually improving, and I got to know the people of the neighborhood very well. But then one day my grandson suddenly fell ill. We showed him enough. To no avail. Then one day there's a village near the side from which you have come. A man and a woman who used to come here often because they used to sell milk and buttermilk at our dhaba. He told that he has a shrine there where someone would treat children by giving his ghost with the blessings of the deity. Is in such a situation, any disease can be relieved. They used to come to us often, so I trusted them and sent them with me, my wife, and my grandson. They said they would leave them back. I had a lot of work that day. That's why I didn't go. My wife went with them, and they showed my grandson at the shrine. He was treated there. But before they came to drop them back, an incident happened in their family too. He was an old man. He was dead. In such a situation, they will give my wife back. Couldn't come to leave. He asked to stop the night, but the child had just been taken to the temple and treated, and that treatment did not affect him staying at home in case of death or any such incident, so my wife didn't even go inside their house, and called me and told me she was coming on foot. It wasn't a long journey, so I said I would come to pick it up, but she said she would either find a means and sit in it. Anyway, we would often go to that village occasionally to buy milk, buttermilk, etc.
So I asked them to come. She left to pick up my grandson from there. Perhaps he had not found any means, and it had been a long time since he had been walking like this. It was around 4 in the evening, so when I called him, he said that both of them were standing on the roadside waiting for some vehicle to arrive. If I don't get the resources in a while, they will call me and I will come to pick them up. Hearing this, I also said yes, because I was the one who managed the dhaba that day. A lot of people also came to eat, but the guy who used to work didn't come to work today. That's why I said it to them. But slowly evening fell. It was getting dark too, but they didn't come home. Even if they didn't come on foot, they would still come home. But so far both of them had neither come home on foot nor by any means. In such a situation, I started worrying a lot about them. Now when I called him, his phone was not even ringing, so I took my motorcycle and set off to pick them up. But I didn't see them all the way. Seeing this, I was upset, and he reached the same village where they both went. When I went there, I asked my friend and his wife, and they said that they stopped a lot, but she did not stop. And in such an environment, they did not even go to leave her because they had no means of their own. They used to catch a bus or a temo and sell milk and buttermilk at the dhaba. In such a situation, he would have left him to the dhaba only with the help of some means. but due to death in the house, it was not possible for them to go. In such a situation, my wife said that she would go away. He was sent because it was 3 p.m. at that time. In such a situation, it seemed that a means would be found. Hearing this made me even more upset, because at 4 p.m. my wife called me and told me that they were both waiting for a means. You'll find the means soon. It is a summer day, so it is still bright till 7 p.m. But now it was 9 p.m. and there was no sign of him. Because of which I was very upset and started looking for my wife around. After a lot of searching, I found the scarf that was on the side of the road found lying nearby. Seeing this, I panicked, and while looking for her, I reached the bushes which were a little ahead, and seeing what I saw behind her, I was shocked. Because at that time, my wife was lying in a semi-naked state. His clothes were torn, and my grandson was lying dead next to him. Someone had stabbed both of them on the neck with a sharp weapon, but my wife was still breathing. Seeing this, I ran away and took care of him, and he said that a truck driver asked him to leave him. And they both sat in it. But the truck driver stopped the truck on the way and forcibly raped her and then put her in such a condition, thinking that she might not be alive and could not tell anything to the people. So he attacked them with a knife to kill them and threw them here and left. Saying this, he died in my arms. I was very broken by the death of my wife and grandson. I wanted to give up my life, but somehow I managed to control myself and thought about punishing the culprit. At that time, my blood was boiling, as if I would kill him with my own hands if he was found guilty. There was a police case, but the culprit was not caught. I don't know who was the worst person who robbed my wife's honor on the pretext of giving her a lift on the way and killed both of them. What kind of human beings are there in this world who do not have the slightest humanity inside them? They do not even think twice about making an innocent child and an old woman a victim of their lust. Saying this, the dhaba owner started crying.
Listening to his words, it was very painful. Then he wiped his tears and said, "The police do not listen much to people like us. Just did his formality and settled this case once and for all. I tried very hard to find out who had done that degrading thing to my wife and grandson. But you can't doubt everyone without any evidence. No, sir, I don't know what happened to both of them, that even after death, they have not been liberated, because the culprit of theirs is roaming freely. Perhaps that's why both of them are still suffering after death. And until their perpetrators are punished, this is probably what has happened to you. When I heard about all this from so many people like you, to tell you the truth, for the first time, I did not believe that anything like this could happen. But when I heard about such incidents every day, I also got very upset. It pained me to see people suffering. At the same time, I was worried about my wife and my grandson, whose soul is wandering even after dying in pain. I want to bring them peace." It was. But the souls of my wife and my grandson did not rest in peace. Although I tried every means for the peace of his soul, I could not punish his killer. Perhaps that's why they are both wandering in search of their killer. People on the way also see both of them, especially the truck driver, stop him and sit in it to go ahead on the way, and then both of them kill him and drink his blood. In this way, about 3 people have died, due to which panic has spread all around, and the truckers have stopped passing here, especially at night. Has been given, because they walk that street all night. Seeing so much happening to me, life seemed like a burden. But the memories of my wife and my grandson are holding me back. Because my wife had worked very hard to run this depot. So I can't go anywhere from here. But it is very painful when people often hear such things. Listening to the same depot walla, I sympathized with him. I talked to him for a few days, and then I asked him if I would find a place to stay. So he told me to sleep. By the way, there is often a sleeping arrangement at such depots, so that truck drivers coming and going from the road can stop. Now I came to my room, but was very nervous every moment. All those things were going through my mind. Then suddenly the light in the room started switching off. Seeing this, I started to panic, and the sound of crying and shouting echoed loudly throughout the room, because of which I was very nervous. Out of the light that was going off, I saw the same woman in a corner of the room with her grandson on. She appeared to be standing in her lap. Seeing which I was very nervous,
because the woman looked very scary. Absolutely the structure of bones, bruises all over the body, and the eyes were very scary. The pupils of his eyes were red in color, as if he was bleeding, and his grandson was white. The pupil of the eye was also white. It was as if his pupils hung outward. There were cut marks in place on the body. They were so terrifying that for a moment I felt like I was going to faint. Her 4-year-old grandson is by my side. Seeing this, he turned his head in a strange way. Then, like a robot, his head turned around. Seeing this, my voice seemed to be buried in my throat. I wanted to scream, but I couldn't scream. The voice was not coming out of the throat due to panic. That's when the old woman started crying strangely. Seeing this, I was about to go out nervously when the old woman blocked my way. Seeing which, I was afraid and could not say anything. The old woman looked at me angrily.
Then, he then extended his hand towards me, which became very long in no time. Then as soon as the old woman remembered something, she started looking at me nervously. I was also getting scared to see his hand moving towards me, but the old woman's hand was suddenly small again. Now she started screaming angrily. Perhaps she was not able to kill me because of Balaji Baba's locket around my neck. Then, like a robot, she started moving around the room with her child in her lap. Now I was just looking at him nervously. I wanted to run away from here, but for a moment my hands and feet were clenched. I wanted to scream, but couldn't. What to do? Nothing made sense. Seeing that horrible scene in front of my eyes, I had lost the power to think and understand. The witch kept moving around, swinging her head in a strange way with her grandson, making the same strange screaming sound. Then suddenly, the sound of the door opening, she did not know where she went with her grandson by turning into black smoke. Now I looked nervously towards the door and saw that it was the owner of the dhaba. He opened the door of the room and came in and looked at me and said, "Sir, this is water," he said, adding that he turned the water towards me. But seeing me so upset and nervous, he came running to me and said, "What happened?" So I couldn't even say anything in a panic. Then he put the jug of water aside and said, "Tell me, sir, why are you so scared? Is there anything wrong?" So flustered and nervous, I told him the whole thing. Now he himself is surprised to hear my words. He was stunned and looked at me and said, "Sir, he has noticed you. That's why she's followed you all the way here. Because of what happened to her, she wants to kill everyone as her enemy. I know you're very scared because of what happened to you a while ago and don't want to stop here for a moment. But sir, listen to me. You stay here tonight because it is not right to leave from here. But after what was happening, it is a far cry from staying overnight. I don't even have a moment. I didn't want to stop there." Seeing me nervous, the owner of the dhaba thought of something and came to me on another bed and slept. Along with this, he kept Hanuman Chalisa in his mobile. Then he looked at me and said, "Don't worry, sir. Nothing will happen now. Now my wife and my grandson will not be able to come here." Hearing this, I also believed all this. Because of the locket around my neck, my life was still saved. So how will that woman come here with her grandson after listening to Hanuman Chalisa? In such a situation, I am nervous to sleep on the bed. He was lying down. At the same time, the owner of the dhaba also probably remembered the past, because of which he was lying on his side, but I felt like he was crying. I was also disturbed to see his pain, because after all, he had lost everything he had. I was still very nervous, but I closed my eyes to sleep. Now Hanuman Chalisa was echoing in my ears, because of which my fear was decreasing little by little, and I started trying to sleep, but I couldn't sleep because of the nervousness. So here and there, the side was turning.
Then I got up and looked at the owner of the dhaba, who was now fast asleep. Now I got up from my bed and started walking around the room. Then I looked out the window of the room and saw both of them standing on the other side of the road, away from the dhaba. I could see his shadow, but in the darkness, his eyes were shining clearly. Now I am sure that both the woman and her grandson are standing there because of her fear of the Hanuman Chalisa being played, and looking this way. They must be staring angrily, because no human eye shines like that. Now nervously I kept looking at them when suddenly the mobile was switched off. Perhaps the switch was switched off due to low battery. Now, as soon as the Hanuman Chalisa stopped moving, both of them started coming towards my room quickly, walking like a robot. Till now, they were not even coming around the room with the sound of Hanuman Chalisa. But now, seeing them come like this, I was shocked. Seeing the two of them coming, I quickly opened the window of the room in a panic. Closed. My heart rate was up. Then nervously I looked back to come to my bed, and the ground slipped under my feet because they were both standing in front of my eyes and staring at me angrily. Just then they both started screaming loudly, making terrifying noises. The sound of their shouts echoed throughout the room. But the dhaba owner was fast asleep. Maybe they couldn't hear the voice. He was affected by the black powers of both of them. In such a situation, I was very scared. That's when both of them started moving their heads around in a strange way, and seeing that both of them had become very long. Seeing this, I was now beginning to feel that maybe he would not leave me alive. Then pointing his hand strangely at me, he came closer to me so that I could understand something. Seeing the locket that was already around my neck, both of them started to panic and started to slip backwards nervously. Seeing this, I took the locket in my hand and dared to put it in front of him. So they both panicked, screaming in a strange voice, turning into smoke. They removed the skylight above the door and left from there. Now the whole room was completely quiet, but I was very scared. With great difficulty, I came to my bed and sat down. I felt like it wasn't right to stay here. It's okay to leave here. Then I started thinking about which of those souls would leave me. In such a situation, I did not understand anything. And thinking of all this, I lay down to sleep. Seeing all this happening to me, it felt like I was going to faint in a panic. But it was the power of Balaji Baba that I was still conscious. I was tossing and turning. It was difficult for me to pass each moment. There were thousands of things going through my mind. That's when I said to myself, who could be the killer of these two, because of which many people have to bear all this? As soon as I remembered the talk of the dhaba owner, I was convinced that the killer of his wife and his grandson was a truck driver. That's why every truck driver has to face all these problems. That's what I was just thinking. Then I was surprised to remember something and said to myself, yes, it can happen. Thinking about all this, I was convinced that my suspicion was absolutely correct. Because after hearing about what was happening to me and all this, I remembered that I knew the truck driver about whom the dhaba seller was talking very well. He was a colorful and chichora type of person named Sudesh. He was a truck driver with me. Sometimes we used to travel together and sometimes we would travel separately. He was a debauched man. He had nothing to do with his family.
Her little did he know that the pot of his sin was full and that he was going to receive the fruits of his deeds. Well, to tell you the truth, for a moment I was also troubled to think about it. It didn't feel good that I could deliberately push someone to death, because I knew that if Sudesh went through that path, the spirit would not leave him alive. So is it okay to risk Sudesh's life, knowing everything? Thinking of this, I did not know what to do. One felt that no one's life was in danger like this, must be poured. The second one felt that such a sinner does not even have the right to live, due to which the lives of many women have been ruined and the lives of many will be ruined. Thinking about all this, I was not able to make any decision about what was right and what was wrong. In such a situation, I went to the nearby Gurudwara to know the answer to all this. If I go there and tell the truth, I found a sense of peace. I was sitting there, a fakir. He sat down beside her and started talking to her and asked her in conversation, "Ba, if we know that someone, man, is a sinner and we remain silent even after knowing everything, so is it okay? Or punish the sinner for his deeds so that he loses his life? That's okay." Hearing my words, the fakir looked at me and said, "Son, killing a sinner is the greatest virtue in the world. There is no sin in his death, because his death relieves many people from suffering. Because a sinful person never lets anyone live in peace. But if we remain silent even after seeing the sin of that sinful person, then it is the greatest sin for us, is because we are equal partners in his sin, who remained silent even after seeing everything." He further said, "As you may have seen in the Mahabharata, Draupadi was disrobed. At that time, Bhishma Pitamaha and Guru Drodacharya all sat and watched all this, so they also had to bear the consequences of their sin. Therefore, it is the greatest virtue to put an end to a sinner." Listening to that fakir, I had now got the answer to all the questions in my mind, and I also thought that what should I do now? Then we both went down the same path. That night too, the spirit again reached out and asked me to stop my truck. But I didn't stop the truck, but Sudesh had done wrong with so many girls. In such a situation, he did not even remember the face of the woman whom he had killed with his son. Apart from this, he did not believe in ghosts, and he did not even know that that spirit roamed there. He just had to satisfy his lust. He had always had a habit of seeing lonely women and girls and taking advantage of them. In such a situation, seeing a lonely woman at night, don't do mean things. That could never have happened. Now, as soon as he stopped the truck, I peeked out of my truck and looked back that the soul was going inside that truck with his son. Seeing this, there was a look of sadness on my face for Sudesh for a while, because in a way he was a little familiar to me. And the next moment there was a look of anger that after thinking about his actions, I now moved my truck to go a little slower. The same Sudesh's truck was parked at one place. Seeing this, I also saw my truck.
I stopped and looked back because I knew what kind of actions Sudesh must be thinking about at this moment. Then suddenly, the sounds of Sudesh's screams started echoing all around in the sky, which was very terrifying and painful. I was watching it all from the window parked in front of my truck. Along with this, I had also run Hanuman Chalisa in my truck so that nothing like this would happen to me. Then, after some time, I saw that Dilip's body had been thrown down from the truck. At that time, I could see that Dilip's corpse was badly mutilated, and they were both standing beside him looking at me. Seeing this, tears welled up in my eyes, and I drove my truck to come forward. At the same time, when I reached that dhaba, I stopped there. Seeing me, the dhaba owner was a little surprised that I was coming through that route again at night. So I looked at the dhaba owner and said, "What should I do, uncle?" It was also an emergency, so I had to come. Everyone loves their own life. I can understand your point, and I also understand your pain, but after today, there will never be such an incident on this path again. Hearing this, he looked at me in surprise and said, "I did not understand anything." So I looked at him and said, "Everything will be understood soon. Just trust God, and as far as I am concerned, God is with me, so nothing can ever go wrong." Saying that, I ordered food for myself, but as soon as I remembered Sudesh's death, I did not eat a morsel. Because no matter how nasty a person he was, I still had a little trouble with his death. It was happening. Then he went to the room to sleep. As soon as I walked into that room, I remembered the last time I came and everything that had happened to me. Along with this, the matter of Sudesh's death was also revolving in mind. I couldn't think of anything else for a moment. Just the same things, everything was going on in my mind. So I kept thinking about all this all night. I fell asleep late at night, but I woke up early in the morning. When I woke up, I felt a little uncomfortable thinking about Sudesh. I knew about Sudesh's death. I will also be asked a lot of questions by the police by the people. Thinking of this, I came out of the room and started drinking tea. Then he took his truck and left to leave. I knew that after Sudesh's death, I still had a lot of questions to answer, and I had thought about how to answer all of them. Then the police found Sudesh's body. I had come with him, so when I was questioned about this, I told him that our trucks were just a short distance away on that road. It was dark all around. In this case, gradually the distance only increased. I also looked back, but then I did not see Dilip's truck. So I thought he must have stopped to freshen up like that because he told me about this, that he had a little mess in his stomach. In such a situation, whenever a deserted area comes, it will go to freshen up. That's why I didn't stop my truck thinking that when he arrived, we would have dinner together at the dhaba. I also came to the dhaba and waited for him. But when he didn't come for a while, I thought maybe he was on the highway. He must have gone through because he was saying that there are some time passes on the highway. Therefore, he should not come on this deserted path. He wanted to go back. Maybe he went back. That's what I was thinking. I told the police in a hushed voice. Then he said something. I even called him, but his phone was not ringing. I pointed to my phone and said that I had deliberately dialed his number, and in fact his call was not even reached. In such a situation, when waiting for him to see his call not ringing,
Seeing him not coming, I ate dinner and went to sleep. I thought maybe he had gone back, and the next morning I also left the dhaba to leave. I only now know that he is dead, I said, trying to be sad. At that time, the police had also believed my words because the way Sudesh's body was torn up, it seemed that he might have stopped his truck and gone down to freshen up from it, and some wild animal attacked him, which led to his death because his body was badly scratched while in the truck. There was no evidence to raise any further questions because after taking her life, her blood had been completely drained and cleaned by the woman and the child. His corpse was also eaten by scratch. Now only the skeleton remained. The police had also identified him on the basis of his clothes and the mobile phone that was switched off nearby. In such a situation, everyone considered Sudesh's death as an accident. People now also began to feel that there are no souls in that path, wild animals that are doing all this. Coming to my house, I asked God for forgiveness for my mistakes. He also went to visit some pilgrimage sites and then resumed his truck work. By the way, I went through that path once again, but by now I had heard from people that there was no danger in that way. When I passed through that road at night, I stopped at the same dhaba where the owner of the dhaba saw me and said, "You were right, sir, that nothing will happen after today. It seems that the lousy person who took the lives of my wife and my grandson is not in this world. His wife and my grandson. Lives have been taken, because of which his soul got peace and now he does not seem to bother both people." No one comes to hear such things. Hearing this, I also nodded in the affirmative, but I did not tell him the whole truth and went on to go from there. By the way, that soul was liberated. Sudesh was punished for his actions, but I have never forgotten what happened to me. Even today while traveling, if I start remembering all the same things, then I start feeling nervous and maybe I will never forget those events. I didn't know if it was good luck or bad luck for me to pass through that road for the first time that night, because if I didn't go through that path, I wouldn't have had so much with me. And sometimes I think that if he had not gone through that path, Sudesh would not have been punished for his actions. That soul is not liberated, and who knows how many people have to give their lives unknowingly. In such a situation, what God does is good. That's why maybe my passage through that path was good in a way. So friends, this was our story today. How did you like the story? Please do tell me by commenting in the comment box. And also, those who haven't subscribed to the channel yet, please subscribe to the channel. Take care of yourself and your family. I will meet you soon with a new story. Thank you.